react. You whispering my name, thinking I won't be the same. Turn fiction into fact. See what you didn't know, bruises that I'll never show, slipping on your every jab. So tighten up your fist, step into the ring with this. I hope your mama's got your back. First round, you thought you would've knocked me down. Fifth round, bleeding out the side of your mouth. Final round, holding the sound of my name in the crowd. You didn't bust. Oh, 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 oh. You didn't bust. Oh, 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 oh. Just 'cause I took a break, you're making a huge mistake, thinking you can take the throne. Look at you trembling, step into the lion's den. Bet you wish you stayed at home, begging for mercy underneath your breath when I ain't even sweating yet. My legend's written in the stone, yeah. You're crying danger in defeat is now your only friend. Even your mama's gotta know. First round, you thought you would've knocked me down. Fifth round, bleeding out the side of your mouth. Final round, holding the sound of my name in the crowd. You didn't bust. Oh, 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 oh. You didn't bust. Oh, 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 First round, fifth round, final round. Oh, yeah. First round, fifth round, final round. No, 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 no. First round, you thought you would've knocked me down. Fifth round, bleeding out the side of your mouth. Final round, holding the sound of my name in the crowd. You didn't bust. Oh, 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 oh. You didn't bust. Oh, oh, oh,
Where are we? What is this?
That's it, get out.
You can make a perfectly realized toilet-filled simulation of heaven, but you can't share a toilet.
Don't insult my craft. The chemical is 𝐒𝐫. It connects the whatever you want section of your brain to the whatever you have section. If your heaven is toilets, that's on you.
All of these people
Are living their wildest, meaningless dreams and leaving me out of them.
people you refuse to kill and refuse to let into your life.
An offer you rejected, so here's your last chance. Goodbye forever. If you touch my toilet again, you
You
die.
need a friend.
I have a million cooler friends than you.
I'll be seeing you.
You'll be dying.
We're gonna be friends.
You're gonna be dead.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicholas Lamar Suter, and this is In Time. Thank you for joining us. I don't know, we should have, the bandwidth should be fine on our end, but let me know what you guys are seeing. So, for those of you who have been, Trump, once again, Trump, as it seems, we've had this discussion before. Most remembers whoever he spoke with last, and that's the person who has the most influence on him. Before going into the meeting in Alaska with President Putin, he got a letter, an open letter from the EU, and then and in that letter, they explained why a ceasefire was so important, that there had to be a ceasefire before there could be any kind of real peace plan, and why the situation in Ukraine was so serious. And Trump responded by saying that if there was no ceasefire, he would implement strong sanctions against against Russia. He would demand a ceasefire before even talking about a peace deal, and he would not negotiate or even talk about land swaps or deals because it wasn't his land. This suggests an understanding of what the problem is in Ukraine. But the last person to talk to him was Macron. And Trump really, this taco moniker, it's so tempting to use just because it's offensive, insulting, and demeaning. And I'm obviously not a fan of the guy, but it really is him. He just bails as soon as he talks to someone with a different opinion. He tries so hard to project strength, and yet wilts at the slightest. So we discussed, and my projection was that he was going to change his mind on all of those positions, and for the most part, that's exactly what happened. I'd like to point out, we don't have, let me see if I can get, because I think it's worth taking a look at the picture that we used as a thumbnail here. If I've got the, let me grab a version of the thumbnail that wasn't. So for the thumbnail, we used him shaking hands with Putin, and it was, in my view, very telling. In fact, if you take a look at the body language, and there's been some analysis of it's rare. I mean, body language is important, but to see a discussion of the body language on Reuters suggests to me that what we were seeing was so obvious and flagrant, and to me it certainly was. This is Putin and Trump shaking hands, and this is after the conference, or after the meeting. Putin certainly looks delighted and is practically grinning from ear to ear. Now, for an ex-KGB assassin, that's grinning. Trump looks like he's trying to maintain dignity and respect as somebody who's been very much put in his place. Now, Trump, right after the meeting, they didn't take any questions, which was a very bad sign, because it meant that Trump's positions, Trump didn't get what he wanted and couldn't brag about any significant victories, and anything that he was going to say was going to generate questions that he didn't want to answer. So he did say, Putin said, I'm going home. It was great. It was a huge success. Trump, meanwhile, was like, I'm going to call NATO. I'm going to call the EU. I'm going to call Zelensky. And he seemed much more like a lapdog. And he called to say, unfortunately, what a taco would say, which was, well, you're going to have to give up Crimea. You're probably going to have to give up the Donbass. You're going to have to get realistic about this kind of thing. I was like, he went in saying he wasn't going to discuss any of that. And all of that is now not only on the table, but is required. He's like, and we're not gonna have a ceasefire. Why do a ceasefire? The argument was literally, why do a ceasefire? I want to save lives, and the only way to do that is a peace deal. Well, a peace deal could take years. If you have a ceasefire while you're negotiating the peace deal, you're saving lives. This is a Russian talking point that Trump is parroting back we're not going to do a ceasefire because we want to save lives. That is Orwellian doublespeak. Wow, why do a ceasefire when we could be saving lives instead? The reason is because if there's a ceasefire, Russia is going to have to stop making any advances in Donbass, which is what they want. They want the entire all of that region. They want a third of Ukraine, and they figure that it's one of those things. Whoever has the ball when the buzzer runs out is the winner, and they want to have as much of Ukraine as possible when something stops them. Now, Trump has made a number of guarantees now and has said that, well, would put U.S. troops in there and that alone would be a guarantee. But the problem is there have been multiple guarantees to Ukraine in the past and they've all failed. And people forget, people talk about the Budapest Memorandum, and I think that's obviously the most important because the U.S. said we would help Ukraine if Russia invaded. Russia promised not to invade and agreed to the borders. And, they fully recognize the borders, this retconning of, well, no, they've always been Ukraine. No, I'm sorry, they've always been Russia. No. And Putin was president at the time. He was the one who signed the Budapest Memorandum. So, no, he wasn't the one who signed the Budapest Memorandum. I'm sorry, he signed the ceasefire, which was the other deal that of course, was violated, which was after the invasion that took Crimea. There was a ceasefire, and he said, okay, we won't invade and take any more of Ukraine, but we're keeping Crimea, end of discussion, and then they inadvertently invaded Ukraine again. So, Trump has a complete understanding of this. When the last person to talk to him is Macron or Zelensky, when the last person to talk to him is Putin, he's got a full understanding of why Ukraine has to, be realistic about its goals, and it can't, just keep on fighting this monstrosity that is Russia. So my hope is that something positive comes out of this meeting. Now, this is Zelensky's last visit, or this is his most recent visit since February, where this happened. So in February, you may recall, he was asked to leave the White House after he was being told that he wasn't being gracious or thankful enough. And really, in an attempt to avoid that, the EU sent an entire delegation to try to explain to Trump just how serious this is. And my hope is that this works, that this applies the kind of pressure, and if the people going understand Trump, which the world is starting to do, they're going to realize that, you have to talk to him a lot like you talk to a 12-year-old with nuclear weapons, but a 12-year-old nonetheless. So you have to cater to his ego, but you have to be stern and you have to be very clear as to, and Zelensky has mastered this, by the way. At any rate, I wouldn't be surprised. I think Trump is, Reuters did an interesting article on how Trump has actually failed universally, completely across the board, to uphold any of his promises or threats against Russia. Now, when Obama drew his red line in the sand against Assad and said, if you use chemical weapons, we're going to go in. And then Assad used chemical weapons and we did not go in. Trump was very critical of this and said, when you make threats, you have to follow through with them. And I'm a strong president and I follow through with all my threats. Well, it's been now 11 days since he said he was going to sanction Russia if they did not immediately have a ceasefire. And not only has he not followed through with his increased sanctions, not only has he not followed through with any of his other threats in regards to the sanctioning of individuals in Russia and cutting off oil. The only one that he's done is he's increased a tariff on India. Yes, India, for importing Russian oil. Well, that's not going to do a whole heck of a lot, but okay, it's something. So I guess when I say he hasn't done anything, he's done that. But so far, he's backed down from, and he said if they didn't walk out of this without a ceasefire, at least so that they could then start negotiating a peace deal without, and this was Zelensky's point, it's very hard to negotiate a peace deal when you're getting shot at. So we do the ceasefire first, and then we do a peace deal. And Trump has said, well, for a ceasefire, you have to cede Donbass and give them Donbass, and then we can start. Well, that's, so we can negotiate a peace deal after we've already surrendered half of it's utterly insane. This is by the way, let me bring this photo back up. If you notice, actually, this is, so the lower picture here is the first time they met, and you can see Trump has a very different attitude. The one above is from today. You can also, if you look at the background, and if you take a look at Trump has been literally gilding the White House. It's starting to look more like one of Saddam Hussein's presidential palaces than, a dignified head of a democratic state. It's really quite shocking. Let's see if I'm hoping. Here you go. Let's get this here. This is from earlier today. First of all, Trump's already trying to figure out how to not have elections 3.5 years. I can't believe it's 3.5 years away. Jesus, a little less than that. But Zelensky has withheld elections, and that is a very good sign, an indicator of a dictator. But it isn't a sufficient condition. It's usually a necessary one, but it's not a sufficient one. Winston Churchill also withheld elections during World War II. Zelensky pointed something out, and if somebody can come up with a counter to this, in the Russian narrative that Zelensky is somehow a dictator because he's withholding the elections, is one of the things that Zelensky pointed out quite accurately is 1/3 of the country has fled. 1/3 of the country is occupied, and everybody else is at war and fighting for their lives. How do you hold open, free, and fair elections under that set of circumstances? Riddle me that, and we can talk about Zelensky doing something that he shouldn't. But the reality is, when a third of the country is occupied, they can't vote. A third of the country's gone. You could probably find them and doing this while getting shot at. And make sure that there's no election tampering, make sure that, the Russians are going to be messing with it. There is no practical way to do it. That's simple. So you can also see if you just take a look at Trump, they rolled out the red carpet literally for Zelensky, who, if his plane landed anywhere in Europe, he would be under arrest. He's wanted for war crimes, in particular the kidnapping of the children in Ukraine. He is committing multiple acts of genocide in Ukraine, trying to ethnically cleanse Ukraine by killing Ukrainians, making the language illegal, destroying any Ukrainian heritage, and in keeping with destroying the heritage, kidnapping the children and raising them Russian in Russian territory. We believe as many as 200,000. Was it 200,000 children? I should look that number up before I give an actual number. So, all right, I'm going to check the live chat and make sure it looks like Timu Decker. I know it's so tacky. It is unbelievably tacky. It's Trump. What can you do? So we're gonna hear they apparently have finished their discussions and are having lunch or have had lunch, and we are going to hopefully be hearing reasonably soon what happens. My suspicion is that Trump is once again going to lean against Russia and say, well, we really do need a ceasefire right now for yada, yada, yada reasons. And there'll be good reasons. Again, it's whoever last spoke with him is the position that he holds. It is an astonishing sign of weakness. And the fact that people can't see this, I shouldn't say people, the fact that MAGA can't see the inherent weakness in Trump and that his ideology shifts based on any significant pressure from just about anybody, it's amazing. It suggests to me that the people that he manipulates and controls, contractors in particular, whom he doesn't pay, yada, 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 they haven't figured out whatever the technique is for dealing with him, and the reason he's a bully to everybody else is because he's so malleable. Meanwhile, in other news that we are covering, and then we're going to keep it short. There's going to be a lot to, we're going to find out more today. Obviously, with Zelensky, I'm cautiously optimistic that it's going to change Trump's view. Having said that, let's assume for a second Trump changes his mind and decides he fully backs the EU plan for a ceasefire and not ceding any land. So what? Trump is proving himself more and more toothless. My belief is that the primary reason, and we're going to discuss this at the very end, the primary reason he's doing this is Epstein. The Alaskan meeting was put together in under 2 weeks. I have never seen one put together so fast. It was put together so fast they couldn't find a place to do it. They finally settled on Alaska before even vetting whether the state was appropriate. They realized it wasn't appropriate because it happened to be tourist season in Alaska, so everything was booked. No delegations they were completely full, so the only place they could actually hold it was on a military base. They did this so quickly because it was the only way to stop talking about Epstein. And from what I can tell, for the most part, it's worked. I haven't seen much on Epstein in the news. And we talked about why it's important. We will talk about why it's important again. But I don't think Trump cares too much about the outcome of this. I do know he wants his Nobel Peace Prize. But I think what he's looking for ultimately, he wants a win, but for him, it's a win if it just distracts from, and people stop talking about Epstein, which for the most part they seem to have done. If he gets peace, great. And if he gets a Nobel Peace Prize, great. If he doesn't, he'll find another way to get one. That's what he does. He'll join the Nobel Committee and award it himself. I'm not kidding. That's what he said at the Kennedy Center. Well, I've always wanted an award from the Kennedy Center, and now that next year, I'm going to give myself one. Everybody laughed. And he's like, no, I'm serious. They know you're serious. That's why they're laughing, because you're a joke. You have to award yourself the really. So, in other news, Hamas has accepted a Egyptian proposal for a ceasefire and hostage release. They will release half of the hostages remaining in exchange for a ceasefire. Right now, Gaza City is under direct assault by Israeli forces. Gaza City, I don't think we have loaded up any pictures of it, but the pictures I've seen of it look pretty much like the rest of Palestinian territory there are a few buildings that have walls, but most of them are blasted out, and it's not in much better shape than anything else in the Gaza Strip. Having said that, right now Netanyahu has planned to take over Gaza City. Hamas, again, has accepted a proposed ceasefire with Israel to exchange half the hostages, but this was proposed by Egypt. Israel has not yet responded to this. There is a general strike called for in Israel and massive protests for the releasing of the hostages. Keep in mind, nobody in Israel, from what I can tell, are not many people really like Netanyahu, but these are not to oust these protests, and the general strike is not to oust him. It's to get back the hostages. It's not to stop the genocide. It's to get back the hostages. We did the what was it? Two Nice Jewish Boys. We did the podcast where they were talking about, if we commit genocide on Palestinian babies, I really don't care. After all the things they've done to us, and it's two guys in a upper middle class, home with a podcast with a really nice mic, and they're talking about it's okay to commit genocide because of what's been done to them. These guys are in their mid to early 20s. The attitude there is shocking, and we've talked to Kafir about it, and it's amazing. I mean, they want the hostages back, and I'm glad that they're willing to presumably stop killing people, at least for now, to do that. Aid drops continue and are becoming somewhat more effective, is my understanding. Having said that, their efficacy was near zero, and one problem is that the Israelis tend to shoot anybody who goes towards aid. So your choice is starve to death or die trying to get food. That's one hell of a brutal thing, but fortunately, Trump is on it by telling everybody how wonderful Netanyahu is. Speaking of, we talked about the Epstein files. There's plenty of evidence that Epstein worked for at least one intelligence agency, and we've had this discussion. He probably worked for several. If he had any dealings with Hamas, sorry, not Hamas, with, oh dear Lord, all of a sudden the name escapes me, Mossad, which is likely since he was Jewish, and we know he worked with intelligence agencies. If he was working with Mossad, and if he had any compromising material on Trump, that would certainly explain why Trump is completely indifferent to the genocide. And in other places where he's actually cared somewhat about stopping the war, here he doesn't seem to care at all, and in fact wants to completely rebuild the West Bank as soon as you get rid of all the pesky people who live there already. So, once again, the Epstein files are tied to a lot more than people seem to give credit for, and I hope the American people stay on it and try to figure out, and that's going to be up to MAGA, because anybody on the left who says Epstein files, he's just going to dismiss as, well, that's the left making stuff up again. Putin, by the way, confirmed that the Russia thing was just a hoax, and confirmed that if Trump had been in office, the invasion wouldn't have happened, which are two things that Trump has been touting for a very long time. First of all, that it comes from a propagandist like Putin means absolutely nothing. Second of all, this frames the war in Ukraine as Biden's war, which is what Trump has always said, and I'm so accomplished this wouldn't have happened if I had been in office. So really, what I find interesting is Russia got basically everything it wanted. It got extra time to continue the war, to get as much territory as possible. That was the principal thing that Russia wanted out of this. It got Trump to reverse his position on land. It got Trump to reverse his position on a ceasefire. And it got him to now sell Russia's position to Ukraine and to the EU. He's calling up NATO saying, this is the deal, instead of Putin having to do it. And what did the U.S. get? Nothing. What did Ukraine get? Nothing. What did Trump get? Oh, a lot of massaging of the ego, and if only you had been in office, I wouldn't have had to invade Crimea or Russia. If only you had been in office, and all those people who say that I helped get you elected by huge, massive propaganda campaigns, or that you and I were running around with Hillary's emails. Of course, that's fake. I have not. Would Uncle Poo-Poo lie to you? No. So, anyways, yeah. So, I'm going to check the live chat, and then I think there's going to be more on the Discord. Actually, I did want to check real quick on the news section in the Discord and see if, because there was one other thing that maybe I wanted to touch on before we go. Let me just see. We've got the hurricane. Trump going to end mail-in voting. We're going to have to talk. Conservatives always say we're for a smaller government. And then every chance they get, they make it bigger. The single biggest government agency ever created is Department of Homeland Security. It's larger than any bureaucracy created in human history. It was created by Republicans and certainly was not needed to combat al-Qaeda, as has been demonstrated. They also expand military spending, which apparently isn't government. So they have a very convenient view of what constitutes a smaller government. Even when the Pentagon says we don't need to spend more money, like, oh, no, 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 here's more money, buy more toys. Oh yes, Dorito had done this one, and of course, documents with sensitive details about the meeting between Trump and Putin were left behind in a public hotel printer. So and by the way, there's another Signalgate issue already. Apparently, ICE has been using Signal to talk to each other and added a complete rando into the group. Nobody knows who this rando is, but they submitted all of ICE's discussions about nationwide strategy and tactics to either CNN or Reuters, I forget which, and so they've got the entire thing because, once again, security. And now they're leaving summit details on the printer. Somebody said that they had thought that it was the lunch menu. I kid you not, the lunch menu was apparently 12 pages. This was 12 pages left on the printer. It wasn't. So come join us on the Discord and to see what we do. And if you like the show, please think about becoming a member. It really does help us out. And in the interim, if there's any breaking news, we do have a show tomorrow in time. It's going to be 𝐒𝐸𝐿 and myself, and we're going to talk about, I'm sure, a lot about what came of today's meetings, and hopefully we're going to have cause to talk about Epstein, although my suspicion is once again that the momentum is now appears to be in on Trump's side towards getting MAGA to move past it. And that's terribly unfortunate because I think with the number of victims, 200 victims, you'd think that would be important to MAGA, but if it's not, it's not. I guess the values of hometown America are different than I thought they were. Anyways, thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern for In Time, and then Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern for Downtime, again, barring any breaking news. Have a good night, all.
Trump not like us, Trump not like us, Trump not like us. Trump not like us, Trump not like us, Trump not like us.